Hey everybody, this is CJ Miller in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I'm saying goodbye to a very good friend. Uh, it is this high end string that I have on my favorite Epiphone. I was practicing, and hey, the string broke, man. Actually, as often as I play it, I should be changing the strings every uh, 2 or 3 months on my guitars. Fortunately, I've got about 13 guitars of varying musical qualities. I like them because they each sound a little bit different because of timbre and also because of their functionality. This is the part that was wound around the neck, and then this is the part that was oh my god, right down here. There's still a little bit of a string sticking out. I'm gonna, when I get this piece out, I'll be able to get that chord. It takes a gentle prying. I'm not gonna do that now. I'm gonna wait because actually they make little small handheld tools that are perfect for things like this. Or you could use a needle nose pliers or something like that. I don't have a sufficient tool, so I'm not going to do it right now. But yeah, I'm just a little sentimental. This is not the original set of strings. The original set of strings I put on came and they were a little, they weren't of great quality. It's not very often that you buy an inexpensive guitar and it comes with like high quality strings. Uh, but they're better than they used to be. But normally they come with like uh, just a generic set of strings to put on, uh, just to put it out to market. Uh, and so when I got this, it's like it really wasn't singing or pushing out sound like I wanted it to. And so what I did was I replaced it with heavier strings, like really thicker strings. Uh, and at that point, I realized, well, the guitar is resonating. It's got a resonance. It's got almost a feedback uh, uh, because the strings were too strong. So after a few months, I replaced it, and these are like, uh, they're not the super thin strings, and they're not the real thick strings. They're kind of middle of the road, and I'm not. I'm certainly not an expert. Otherwise, I would know the quality of the strings, the gauge that I'm talking about. But it's kind of like a middle gauge. When you go to your standard guitar store, your neighborhood guitar or music store, they're going to have three basic grades of guitars, three basic gauges. Sets of gauges that they're going to try to sell you, and so this is kind of the middle of the road. And this is it's a good. These are elixir strings. Uh, uh, a lot of people prefer D'Addario. There's not a tremendous amount. You just want like a good double, a coil on the strings. And I'm talking about this mostly to remind myself of the things that I've been told, and then I found good. You want a double wound string. You know, you don't want like a just a straight string because they do tend to break. These strings have been on this guitar, and I had played it very well for a very long time. Not that my playing is very well, but this is a well played guitar. Let me tell you, and it's got nicks and notches on it and everything. It's only about 5 years old. It's not a very old guitar. Uh, as a matter of fact, earlier this year, I bought a guitar that is almost identical, and it's the same model. It's just a different series, but from the same company, the same model, and everything. Epiphone. So yeah, uh, and I've been thinking about breaking it out of its box. I'm not even taking it out of the box. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to have a payday coming up in a couple of days, and what I'll do is I will get to a music store and I will get because I have a few guitars that I need to get the strings changed on, but I've got a friend who's a musician, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a few sets of strings, and I'm going to get a tool that will help me, that you hold in your hand. That's kind of like easy for changing strings. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a multi tool for specifically for guitar strings and everything. So I'm going to do that, and then I will sit down with my friend and basically. It's been a long time. I'm actually the person who put the strings on this. I was with the guy, uh, another musician friend a couple of years ago. We're sitting around, and he put on a couple of strings, and then kind of like coached me in putting the strings on this. So, but it's been a while. It's been a while, and so yeah, I'll just make sure for my comfort that I have someone there with me who's able to show me because I've got a 12 string. But this is always this high end string, which is the smaller string. That's the one that ends up breaking on me, but usually not after for a few years. So if you're a performer or you're a player or something like that, and you play it on stage, you want to make sure you have like a really fresh strings, fresh enough to be stretched out. Uh, you don't want to just put them on before you go on stage or before you play for people, but you want to make sure that you know uh, that they're uh, within a couple of weeks and still durable. And that way, you could, they sound like they're going to sound. They can be adjusted in the way they're going to be adjusted. I kind of knew these strings were getting old. You can sort of tell whenever they start getting to a place where they stop holding the key as well as they do. Do you ever go to a concert and you see people changing out guitars? Some of that is for the purpose of performance. Some of that is for the purpose of performance because of the different intonations and the instruments, the different timbres and the different effects that they could do, especially the electric stuff, blues and stuff like that. But really, a lot of it is when you really, really play guitar and you play it uh, for several numbers, uh, then it needs to be, you know, uh, perfectly tuned. Like that's why you have two or three people, two or three different guitars for the lead guitars and stuff like that. You have people backstage, like, uh, you know, checking the tuning and stuff like that. Especially like with rock guitar in particular, where you're hitting it hard. So, and I tend to because when I learned how to play, first I was subletting an apartment from a guy I know in town. I was subletting a couple of rooms out of his apartment. It's a bottom duplex, and so I was trying to be really conscientious. And then I lived in that Fairmont building in Shreveport, and all the buildings are stacked really really close to each other, and they're all small. And and there again, I was trying to be a good neighbor and not be too disturbing. So when I learned how to play, I learned how to play. Uh, finger plucking rather than using a plectrum or a pick. So, uh, and then of course I've been here a few weeks and I'm still unpacking and setting stuff up in the apartment and everything. But it's my goal to get some of these guitars, get fresh strings on them, get some really good quality picks. Plectrums. I got a friend who's like he's got like a favorite, and they're little bits of plastic actually, but they're you know but they're not very cheap uh, for guitars. But I played and I felt them. I played with his picks and everything like that, and it's like yeah, they really do good. They really do feel good at the hand and everything. But so uh, but it's good. But different. It was so funny because different picks of different sizes and different thicknesses and everything. They also produce different sounds with the guitar. So it's little bitty variations, and it's great. But if you have like a lot of equipment that can produce, like if you got like effects pedals and speakers and filters and synthesizers that you can run your guitars through, I just play around for myself. So it's like I don't have all those things, and it would be, uh, not something uh, that I should do because I'm not really a performer, and so I just play at an apartment. Now it's a much bigger apartment, and I've got a centralized located room that's pretty much uh, safe and secure from disturbing uh, other neighbors. So I feel like I can maybe learn to play with picks a little bit better now. So between the two, then I'll be what's called a chicken picker, and that is someone who can play with the pick in their hand while plucking the other strings with their fingers. So you're like, where we at? So you're like holding your pick here, and then you know, you know, plucking here, whatever it is, doing your picking, and then everything, and then you start doing your banjo type playing with your fingers there and everything. So I don't know. I'm getting a little better. I'm getting a little bit more each. I'll tell you what's been fun about this. It feels like a guitar playing the last few years, and I just spent my entire life not really learning how to play guitar, not really knowing how to play guitar, really. And you don't know if you don't learn, but it was like just not doing much of anything. Uh, Writing, I did a lot of writing, and I experienced other art forms and everything creatively. But and every once in a while, I'd get an instrument every few years, and then I would think I'm going to learn how to play it. But I was always such a nomadic person. I was always, uh, the word for it is unstable in my uh, living. So I was always moving around, and when you do that, you tend to lose a lot of possessions, or not acquire them or keep them, whatever. So, yeah, I would end up. Yeah, I mean, buying some instruments, thinking, "Hey, I'm going to learn it," and then not. But so the guitar, and I have to say, it's been the hardest for me to really gravitate to, because I've learned various chords with the keyboard, even though I'm not really a great keyboard player and percussion. That's just like finding rhythms and tapping them out on just every day. Everybody does that in your life. That's what you do that when you're sitting around and you're just making little ticks with your mouth while you're thinking. You're creating rhythm and stuff. So that's but guitar, for me I found that really difficult. For one thing, my hands. It was like, uh, and they're not like, I don't have huge fingers like a lot of people have, like these long fingers, and that makes it really easy for them to reach up and grip and everything like that. And so my fingers, they had to get stretched out a little bit, and they get, and then so after a while they stretch, but also my hands would cramp up as I was learning the chord configurations. First of all, I had to learn how to, because I'm dyslexic. So I had to learn the names of the strings, and in my mind, I have to ingratiate or engrave, or really imprint. That's, I guess, what I'm looking at. The Memorize, put the names of these strings and their positions and what they mean really into my head. And then there's all these cues. A guitar is fortunate. There's most of them have uh, marks for your chords and everything. Usually on some stringed instruments, by the way, cello, you sort of like have to just know where your hand position is. You don't have uh, markings on your cello for your positions, or for your violin and everything like that, for where you play your finger, or where you put your bow and everything. And it's really kind of a go by feeling. Uh, and I don't play any of those because that would sound horrible, me in this apartment trying to learn that. Oh my God. But I found that once I learned that I could learn, that I could be taught, then it was easier. But the big thing for me as a child, when you go to some people and uh, you want to get shown something, what happens is the person who is supposed to be giving you a lesson, a music lesson or something like that, usually instead of showing you how to play something, maybe they'll tell you one or two things and then they'll try to turn it into a private concert. Now, let me show you this and everything. And so you sit there for like 45 minutes watching somebody play guitar, which is interesting. But what's supposed to happen is they're supposed to be teaching you, not giving you a private damn performance and everything like that. And so, getting shown things as a child, especially when I had uh, this extra step that I have to go through in my brain of flipping uh, the knowledge that's given to me and then impressing it and then flipping it back. It's almost like making a leather print, like where you have your little leather square, then you draw on your leather square, but you have to do it in a way that's in reverse, because when you take it and you print it on the paper or the surface that you're going to print it on, you're making a stamp or an ink stamp, basically. You have to do it in reverse so that it prints correctly when it comes out. Well, so my mind is like that. My mind has to be flip flopped. You know, the eye, when you see things, the eye, when you're looking at the world, and your eye, and it flips in your brain, and then the actual image that it's seeing is inverted as it's put it into your brain, and then something in your brain translates that, and it's interpreted as it has to do with the way the nerve endings are, or something like that. And I've either got an extra step in there or I'm missing a step in there. But essentially, for me, it's like I've got to take the information and I've got to categorize it and basically flip it uh, so that I can understand it. You know, it's just a dyslexic type thing that I didn't quite realize until I was much older. We did an assessment, and if we would have known this when I was a child, it would have been maybe easier, you know. But whatever. Uh, it's not like that would have solved all my childhood issues, but it would have been one less thing. Okay, so I'm excited about guitar. I have a love of guitar. Talking about this made me feel really bad because it was sentimental, because it was like, wow, these things really, these strings, this particular set of strings, and after a while they get to sound really, really groovy, like you know, whatever. I was a kid in the '70s, but I remember when people said groovy. Uh, it's like, yeah, after a while everything sounds perfect, and then when I go to change the strings, even if I get the exact same string, the sound is not going to be the same. It's going to take a while. You put strings on, then you got to like stretch them and get them to where, you know. So it'll take a while, and then it'll sound good again, but it's never going to sound the exact same as it was sounding with this particular set of strings. So I'm kind of saying goodbye to this particular vibration, and that's really what this video is about. Uh, you know, sentimentality over little things in life. You know, keeping things in perspective. But those are the things those are the little things that we enjoy. And when those little enjoyments, when they go through changes, it is perfectly okay to have a little bit of sentimentality about it. Uh, that's where our gratitude lives, and that's where our ability or our motivation to take care of the things that we cherish. Those are the emotions where uh, those motivations come from. All right, about 20 minutes in, so I'm going to shut up. But I love you guys. Love and light.